Don't be that way. Don't be that way.
Oh my goodness, this week it's been great, Rodney.
Actually, it has been a great week.
Yeah, it's been great. You know,
Hmm.
yeah, broski.
Yeah, man.
How's it been for you?
Actually, it's been going great. It's been going good. Just definitely a lot of transforming, a lot of character building. I'm not going to say it's bad because I definitely believe that it's cultivating me and making me a better man. So honestly, I'm good. I'm definitely in a great space where I'm just really in the moments where I'm just really um cultivating myself. So I'm excited about what God has for me in the future. What about you, man?
So, are you an Autobot or a Decepticon? Because you talking about transforming.
I'm transforming, man. I'm transforming.
That didn't answer the question. Autobot or Decepticon?
Decepticon, man.
Okay, so you're fighting with the losing side. Cool.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, that's your opinion. That's all right. That's all right.
I mean, to be fair, they're kind of losers. Um,
Okay.
they have a couple nice wins here and there.
Hmm.
They've had a couple devastating victories, but in the end,
Yeah.
they're destined to lose.
Okay.
Especially when Optimus comes into the full realization of his power as a prime. Anyway, wow, we're nerding out right now.
We are.
Uh,
We are.
it's all been good. It's all been good, Rodney.
Hmm.
Different things and whatnot. I've had a lot of. It's been a lot of. I've had a lot of thoughts
What's
recently.
up?
I'm not going to talk about all of them, but there's been a lot of thoughts and a lot of discussions internally, internal monologues. And
Okay.
one of the things that I have, one question I have, right? Because I
What's
don't
up?
have experience with this, I can't answer this.
Hmm.
What is being in love?
Honestly, being in love from just my own opinion. Well, not say my own opinion. Let me not say that. From what I've been introduced to and taught to by the word and different preachers, being in love is being in covenant with somebody under God and cultivating the relationship that's built on the foundation of Christ and just giving yourself in a way as Christ has said in Ephesians. That's what I feel like being in love is. Um, I do think sometimes people misconstrue the fact of love as being a feeling, but yes, like love is definitely a feeling for sure, but it's also an action as well. Like love does produce action. Where I do think if you so caught up on the feeling of love, you can get blinded by the fact that it can crumble because you're so relying you're letting the feeling of love be the barometer of hey, this relationship is going good, or hey, it's going a downward spiral.
I I kind of get what you're saying, Rodney. I kind of get what you're
Hmm.
saying.
Yeah.
So you're saying that being in love is an action, but at the same time, we already say that love in general is an action. So what separates love,
Mm-hmm.
any other kind of love, from being in love? Because they're all actions
Trying
that go with it.
to think. So this is me just
I need
asking
you
a
to explain
question.
it to somebody who hasn't experienced
Mhm.
this.
Okay. Yeah. So being in love is being in a marriage that is fully committed to God and the obedience of it.
Marriage. Why
Being
marriage?
married because because of marriage, like God ordains for marriage. Like if between a man and a wife, that's what he has ordered to do. That's what pleases him. God loves marriage. And that's the main things that he focuses on between like a man and a woman is them being in a covenant, a marriage, a promise that is devoted to him and only to him and has Christ as the foundation of that relationship. And that's being led by the Holy Spirit.
So let me get this straight. You're saying if I'm not married, I can't be in love with somebody?
Yes. You can like them a whole lot. But when they say like God is love, when you're in love, you're entering into something that has him there.
Okay.
Without with go ahead, because
I was
for
just
me,
gonna I
go
was
ahead,
just gonna say a little pushback for that, right?
go
Because
ahead, go ahead,
I can logically I can understand where you're going with this.
go ahead.
But to the listener who says, "Hey, hold on. I have a child with this woman. I am in love with her. I will give my life to her and I devote it to her and my child." And you saying I'm not in love with her just because I haven't yet put a ring on her finger.
Yeah. Where's the commitment?
Bro, what do we need a ring for? That's just the government and a tax thing.
That's that's empty promise. You can do the same thing with a whole another person. Like where's the intention? Where's the focus? Where is the
My actions say it like you said earlier. My actions showing her that I'm committed to her and only her. And I'm committed to the family that we started and we're raising.
but God calls for more.
But the marriage ceremony isn't a part of the Bible and the Word, and that's not what dictates if God says that you're married to somebody.
No, well, no, God's not focused on the white dress or the tuxedo or the bouquet or the flower girl. He could care less about that. Ain't nothing to go down to the courthouse and sign a few documents. You can use the ring as a ring pop. Because honestly, to have that child, you've already committed in the Old Testament times of marriage, of having sex with someone. You've already made the covenant of saying "I do" by the sexual act.
All right, so then, okay. All right, Rodney. Personally, I still don't get the whole in love thing, but all right. But hey, sometimes things are not going to make sense until you actually have to experience them because everything isn't logical. Emotions themselves aren't logical.
Right, right. Some of us have seen Inside Out too.
These are my confessions.
Hey, I said some of us. I said some of
I
us.
haven't seen either one, and I want to see both.
Yeah, because I heard part two was actually good. Actually, I've seen one before years ago, but they said especially like from the Saints. The Saints said like part two had some people want to run across the movie theater.
All right. All right, let's get into what we came here for, what everyone came in here for, y'all. I know we
Let's
kind of
go.
went off track to start the podcast. But we are this is Bible study, and we are in the book of Exodus. We're doing chapters 9 through 12 today. I'm going to be real with you. Some of these chapters are kind of long. But let's start. So we already went through the first 4 plagues. We're through the first 4 plagues. There's 10 of them. Yeah. So we went through the first 4 biblical plagues that that God went through. That God put on Pharaoh. Goodness. That God had Moses and Aaron to show to the Egyptians. The first one was them turning water into blood. Then it was those nasty frogs. And then even after he took them away, he just killed them. He didn't take them away. Then it was lice. Then it was fleas. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah. So now we're getting into chapter 9, which is where the 5th plague is going to come in. And the Lord said to Moses, Go into Pharaoh and say to him, Thus says the Lord, And the God of the Hebrews, let my people go that they may serve me, for if you refuse to let them go, behold, the hand of the Lord shall fall upon every severe, with every severe, will fall with every severe plague upon your livestock that are in the field, the horses, the donkeys, the camels, the herds, and the flocks. But the Lord will make a distinction between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of the Egypts, so that nothing will belong to the people of Israel shall die. And the Lord set a time, saying, tomorrow the Lord will do this thing in the land. And the next day the Lord did this thing, and all the livestock in Egypt died. But not one of the livestock in the people of Israel died. And Pharaoh sent and beheld, not one of the livestock of Israel was dead, but the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go. So first off, God's very intentional. He said, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, let them go. Or tomorrow, all of your livestock will be dropped dead. Now, we talked about the frogs before, you know, how, you know, you had to clean up all of those bodies and they stink.
Yeah.
What's easier, shoveling frogs or trying to move cows and ox?
What's easier? Man, shoveling frogs. At least I think so. Mike, you know I'm small. So, you know, if I ain't got to push no dang cow or an ox, man, I'll shovel them frogs daily. Like, let me get these shoulders together.
Like, people be forgetting how big a cow can be. Mm-hmm. So, like, especially like a bull, which, you know, get like 1,500 pounds. Like, fam, that's a bunch of just dead weight on the ground that just died all over the place. Fields covered in these things. Mm-hmm. Now you got buzzards coming down and vultures coming and picking the meat and all this and scavengers. And it's Egypt. It's hot. How long is it going to take for them things to start smelling up the place and you can't even do nothing about them?
Exactly.
You know what you gonna do? Set the whole field on fire? So that one got me. I was like, yo, that's rough. That's, you know. And back then, the reason why this is so important is, you know, back then countries' economies, for the most part, were all tied to agriculture. Yes, unless they were a warring state that was literally always at war, taking from others. One of your most important asset is your ability to grow food and to farm livestock. And God just took the livestock away right here in one swoop. So then, that's plague number 5. We're getting to number 6 now. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, take handfuls of soot from the kiln, and let Moses throw them in the air in the sight of Pharaoh, and it shall become fine dust over all of the land of Egypt, and become boils breaking out in the sores of man and on beasts throughout the land of Egypt.
It's on the animals too?
Yes. So the livestock dead, so they ain't got to worry about it. But all the rest of the animals, like, bro, think about it this way. Hippos are already like the most dangerous thing ever. So much so that, rest in peace, Steve Irwin.
Steve.
But y'all know, Steve Irwin said there is only one animal he is afraid of and he refuses to work with, and that is the homicidal water horse that is known as a hippo.
I never knew that.
He said it's the only animal he was afraid to work with and would not be around. The same guy that was around crocodiles got his name the Crocodile Hunter. That was I watched him free handle a freaking rattlesnake. And that tells you how dangerous those are. So, like, think of this. You have hippos, right? Think of them being super irritated now because they just got boils. Yeah, so couldn't be me. So it's on all the land and it's on the beast and it's on the beast and on man. So they took the soot from the kiln and stood before Pharaoh, and Moses threw it in the air, and boils began breaking out on sores on man and beast. And the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boils had come upon the magicians and upon all the Egyptians. But the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and he did not listen to them as the Lord had spoken to Moses. So even y'all little magic men that wanted to try to always recreate everything, Couldn't even
Couldn't even.
couldn't even stand
Couldn't
up.
even.
So now we get to the seventh plague. Here's one that's gonna be this. Here's one that would scream. I think I told you before, right? This would scream apocalypse to me.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Rise up early in the morning and present yourself before Pharaoh, and say to him, Thus says the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, let my people go that they may serve me. For this time I will send all my plagues on you yourself, and on your servants and your people, so that you may know that there is none like me in all the earth. For by now I could have put my hand and struck you and your people with pestilence, and you could have been cut off from the earth. But for this purpose I have raised you up to show my power, so that my name may be proclaimed in all the earth. You are still exalting yourself against my people and will not let them go. Behold, about this time tomorrow I will cause a heavy hail to fall, such as never has been in Egypt from this day it is founded until now. Now therefore get your livestock and all that you have in the field into safe shelter. For every man and beast that is in the field and is not brought home will die when the hail falls on them. Then whosoever feared the word of the Lord among the servants of Pharaoh hurried his slaves and his livestock into the houses. But whoever did not pay attention to the word of the Lord left his slaves and livestock in the field. Then the Lord said to Moses, Stretch your hand toward heaven so that there may be hail in the land of Egypt on man and beast and every plant in every field in the land of Egypt. Then Moses stretched his staff towards the heaven. The Lord sent thunder and hail and fire ran down the earth, and the Lord rained hail upon the land of Egypt. There was hail and fire flashing continuously in the midst of the hail, very heavy hail, such as had never been in all the land of Egypt since it became a nation. The hail struck down everything that was in the field in all the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and the hail struck down every plant of the field and broke every tree of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the people of Israel were, was there no hail. Then Pharaoh sent and called Moses and Aaron and said, This time I have sinned. The Lord is in the right, and my people are in the wrong. Plead with the Lord that there has been enough of God's thunder and hail, and I will let you go. And you shall stay no longer. Moses said to him, As soon as I have gone out the city, I will stretch my hand to the Lord. The thunder will cease, and there will be no more hail, so that you may know the earth is the Lord's. But as for you and your servants, I know that you do not yet fear the Lord God. Called him out immediately. The flax and barley were struck down, for the barley was in the ear and the flax was in the bud. But the wheat of the emmer was not struck down, for they are late in coming up. So they were late blooming anyway. So Moses went out from the city, and Pharaoh and stretched his hands to the Lord, and the thunder and the hail ceased, and the rain no longer poured upon the earth. But when Pharaoh saw that the rain and the hail and thunder had ceased, he sinned yet again and hardened his heart, he and his servants. So the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not go to let the people of Israel go, just as the Lord had spoken through Moses. First off, bro, this is Egypt. Mm-hmm. This is not far away from the equator line, right? Mm-hmm. They don't get winters and snow. It's a lot of desert there. And you telling me that not only did God cause there to be hail, but he said a heavy hail. So I like to think that their hail had to be at least the size of baseballs, because he said you had to bring your animals and your people inside. Mm-hmm. Bring your slaves and any livestock alive inside, because if they get struck, it's over, right? So the things had to be falling like baseballs to be killing, to take out people and animals. But in the midst of it, it said there was also fire.
I know, it was hot that day.
So I'm sitting here because two things that don't go together is ice and fire. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at that as, if this isn't apocalyptic, if I'm in Pharaoh's house, I'm sitting here like, hey, bro, you see outside right now? Bro, we live in Egypt. and there are balls of ice falling from the sky. To make matters worse, Pharaoh, there's also balls of fire falling from the sky at the same time. Make it make sense. You don't piss they God off, and you need to go make it right. What you think about these? How he reacted to these plagues so far?
Honestly, with the reaction, I feel like he could have moved faster than how he was supposed to. I mean, even with the first plague that you told me about, if anything for me seems abnormal, I'm like, yeah, we need to fix this real quick. I'm like, what I gotta do? Yeah, because even like I said, the plague with the livestock, I just would have, just me personally, like I said, I would just went off of that because it's like I need my livestock to move forward and to progress. So yeah, I think his reaction was definitely hindered. It was definitely slowly, like it was at a slow pace, Mike. If I could put that in words, it was a slow pace. He wasn't moving with quickness. Sure, even like I said, just going to move forward. Like I said, from the livestock, um, I'll fake you, fam. Like I told you like a few minutes ago. Like I said, I don't like being hot. So when that plague of that fire came down, and we in Egypt, these two things don't match. Like with fire with snowballs, and we got this goddamn on fire. Yo, it doesn't make sense. I'm hot. I'm confused. Like once I'm starting seeing things that don't logically make sense. Honestly, if I was fair, I would just give it up at that point. Well, not give up, but like give in. I'm like, yo,
Yeah, man, y'all gotta go.
yeah,
This is straight up. Hey, bro, y'all gotta go. Y'all causing too much problems.
get out of here.
Y'all
I
causing
want-
way too many problems being here. Like, fam, like you are ruining my economy right now. You gotta go.
Nah, for real. That's all it would have took for me. Like those first few plagues, trust me, Mike, I would have been done. Been done, Mike. Been
Bro,
done.
the moment that he turned dust into lice, because like the water and the blood thing, you know, like the magicians imitated, I'd be like, ha 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 ha, yeah, whatever. The moment that you grabbed dirt from the ground and made it become lice upon me, I'd have been like, hey, yo, nah, you gotta go, fam. Like, I don't know what you think this is, like lice on me. And then after that, the frogs, like, yo, what are you doing? Flies? Like, fam, this is more than an inconvenience at this point. These plagues are a little excessive.
Definitely excessive. Definitely excessive for sure.
The next plague is probably about to be the worst one as far as economy goes. Well,
Okay.
actually, I don't know. The hail and fire coming down might have actually literally destroyed all your fields. So, except it did say.
Okay.
He did say that the one thing that didn't get destroyed was the wheat yet because it had yet to bud. The flaxseed and the barley were destroyed, but it said the wheat had yet to bloom, so it hadn't bud yet. So the next one is about to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead with the next chapter, Rock.
Going crazy. All right, cool. Then the Lord said to Moses, return to Pharaoh and make your demands again. I've made him and his officials stubborn, so I can display my miraculous signs among them. I've also done it so you can tell your children and grandchildren about how I made a mockery of the Egyptians and about the signs I displayed among them. And so you will know that I am the Lord. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, this is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says. How long will you refuse to submit to me? Let my people go so they can worship me. If you refuse, watch out, for tomorrow I will bring a swarm of locusts on your country. They will cover the land so that you won't be able to see the ground. Oh, Lord Jesus. They will devour what little is left of you. they will devour what little is
The
left
imagery,
of your crop.
bro.
It is. It's like, why can't you see the ground? Oh my gosh. They will devour what little left is left on your crops after the hailstorm, including all the trees growing in the fields. They will overrun your places and the homes of your officials and the houses in Egypt. Never in the history of Egypt have your ancestors seen a plague like this one. And with that, Moses turned and left Pharaoh. Pharaoh's officials now came to Pharaoh and appealed to him. How long will you let this man hold us hostage? Let the men go to worship the Lord their God. Don't you realize that Egypt lies in ruins? So Moses and Aaron were brought about to Pharaoh. All right, he told them, go and worship the Lord your God. But who exactly will be going with you? Moses replied, we will all go, young and old, our sons and daughters, and our flocks and herds. We must all join together in celebrating a festival to the Lord. Pharaoh retorted, the Lord will certainly need to be with you if I let you take the little ones. I can see through their evil plan. Never. Only the men may go and worship the Lord, since this is what you requested. And Pharaoh threw them out of the palace. Then the Lord said to Moses, raise your hand over the land of Egypt to bring on the locusts. Let them cover the land and devour every plant that survived the hailstorm. So Moses raised his staff over Egypt, and the Lord caused an east wind to blow over the land all that day and through the night. When morning arrived, the east wind had brought the locusts, and the locusts swarmed over the whole land in Egypt, setting in dense swarms from one end of the country to the other. It was the worst locust plague in Egyptian history, and there has never been another one like it. For the locusts covered the whole country and darkened the land. They devoured every plant in the fields and all the fruit on the trees that had survived the hailstorm. Not a single leaf was left on the trees and plants throughout the land of Egypt. Pharaoh quickly summoned Moses and Aaron. I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you, he confessed. Forgive my sin, just this once, and plead with the Lord your God to take away this death from me. So Moses left Pharaoh's court and pleaded with the Lord. The Lord responded by shifting the wind, and the strong west wind blew the locusts into the Red Sea. Not a single locust remained in the land of Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart again, so he refused to let the people go. This dude is just won't let up, man.
Well, the Lord keeps hardening his heart.
That's true. That's true. Okay, finishing up with a plague of darkness. Then the Lord said to Moses, lift your hand toward heaven, and the land of Egypt will be covered with a darkness so thick you can feel it. So Moses lifted his hand to the sky, and a deep darkness covered the entire land of Egypt for 3 days. During all that time, the people could not see each other, and no one moved. But there was light as usual where the people of Israel lived. Finally, Pharaoh called for Moses. Go and worship the Lord, he said, but leave your flocks and the herds here. You may even take your little ones with you. No, Moses said. You must provide us with animals for sacrifices and burnt offerings to the Lord our God. All our livestock must go with us too. Not a hoof can be left behind. We must choose our sacrifices for the Lord our God from among these animals, and we won't know how we are to worship the Lord until we get there. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart once more, and he would not let them go. Get out of here, Pharaoh shouted out to Moses. I'm warning you, never come back to see me again. The day you see my face, you will die. Very well, Moses replied. I will never see your face again.
I sent the storm, thus said the Lord.
Was that in your heart?
No, that's the Prince of Egypt song for that scene for the plagues.
That's why I had to ask. I said,
once I called you brother.
It's like, ain't no way how you can read the story and not think about the Prince of Egypt at least once, to be honest.
Yeah, because that's one thing I would say the Prince of Egypt did well was depicting the plagues.
Mm-hmm.
And in order, too.
Mm-hmm. Nah, they definitely did a good job with that. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a good job depicting the plagues. So, Rodney.
Go ahead.
We talked about this before we got on the podcast, and I mentioned all the plagues, like, don't be wrong, some of these were actually, for me, a little more bearable than others. Mm-hmm. The locusts covering the ground to where you can't see the ground is wild. That's wild. That's absolutely nuts. But the other thing for me is, for me personally, the worst plague outside of the final one, guys, because we know obviously death is going to be worse than anything else that can be brought upon you. But complete darkness to where you can actually physically feel it, to where you could be standing in front of somebody and you can't see them.
That's wild.
Darkness that's so strong it's almost like you're blind. but it's covering the land for everybody. That right there, that's mental torture. And for me, mental torture is way worse than having to deal with frogs, fleas, lice, boils, all that. Don't get me wrong, boils comes real close after that. But it's the messing with my mind. Like, I know you're there, but I can't see you. I'm not blind. It's not like I've been blinded. And you can't see. I'm here, but you can't see me. Like, it is incredibly hard. Like, imagine that it's so dark like that, and you got it, and it happens just randomly. You're in the kitchen cooking, and bam, it goes super dark. You got your baby crying, and you can't like you're trying to find where the child is sitting on the floor without falling or stepping on them.
Exactly.
Imagine trying to console your 5, 6, 7-year-old who everything went dark and they're confused and they're crying. Like, it is mental anguish.
For sure. I'm like, what the heck? Man, I could be using the bathroom, let you know it's gonna be dark. I'm doing a number 2. I'm like, hey, where the lights at? Just imagine. I'm trying to bring realism to this. I'm trying to bring realism to this. It can happen. It probably, matter of fact, it did happen. I'm pretty sure somewhere in there, someone
Imagine
was
the chariots that got into car accidents.
Oh my God.
Or chariot accidents.
All right, definitely chariot accidents for sure.
Because remember, Egypt, one of the best things about their military was they had such a huge chariot military. So people imagine, like, back then, like, that's equivalent to, I want to say that's basically equivalent to, like, having, like, an Air Force or tanks. Like, the mobility of the chariots for you to have one guy steering, the other person, have another person, 2 people in there, and they might be using a bow or a spear or a sword or something while you have horses just driving you guys through there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that got to be insane for real.
So, yeah, that's why I say, yo, like, that one there, like, that gets me. Like, that darkness is just crazy to me.
Darkness.
What about you, Rock?
Shoot, for me, the worst one for me, it had to be the Boils, man. Oh wait, hold up. Wait, I don't think we got reached to the point yet. Sorry, y'all. That's just my own personal being. My bad.
Nah, what you talking about? We already went through the Boils.
Did we? Okay, cool. My bad. Sorry. Y'all know how I am sometimes. But it's the Boils for sure. I can't deal like, ooh, is for me. It's more just like a physical thing. You know, I love how I look. I love how I feel. I look good. Thank God to my parents and thank God to Jesus for making me look so beautiful and handsome. If I had boils on my face, oh my gosh, I would be so horrified at myself.
Mommy!
Why do
Mommy, they made me ugly!
Right? I'm all bumpy.
They made your pretty son, they made your good looking son ugly, Mom.
How can I give you a child like you want to?
Mom, I'm hideous. There's a boil on my right cheek.
Exactly.
What am I supposed to do? That'd be crazy, actually.
No, that's how it be. That's how it be for real.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's mine. It had to be the Boils, bro. It had to be the Boils. Got to. All right, continue.
All right, so chapter 11, the final plague threatened.
Sorry,
The Lord said to Moses, "Yet one plague more I will bring upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterward, he will let you go from the land, from here. When he lets you go, he will drive you away completely. Speak now in the hearing of the people that they ask, every man of his neighbor and every woman of her neighbor, for silver and gold jewelry." And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, probably because they want y'all gone. Like, think of all this mess that happened because your people are in the land, and our Pharaoh, our king at this time, keeps screwing things up and making y'all God mad. If you ask me for some jewelry, I'm going to give it to you too and be like, hey, like, remember that I gave this to you. Like, when your God calls the next thing down and ask him to, like, not do it to me. You got to imagine that's what everyone was doing. Like, hey, intercede for me real quick. Like, when the next thing happens, because, you know, Pharaoh don't speak for me. He really don't. Like I didn't even like. We really need to get to a democracy and be electing people because I don't even want him in charge. He got this just because he was born into it. But yeah, so and the Lord gave the people the favor in the Egyptians' eyes. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants and in the sight of his people. Bro, everybody don't turn on Pharaoh.
Exactly.
So Moses said, "Thus says the Lord, at midnight I will go out in the midst of Egypt, and every firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. From the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on the throne, even to the firstborn of the slave girl who is behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of the cattle." Where he getting rid of the animals too. he been coming after their livestock.
No,
There shall be a great cry throughout the land of Egypt, such as there has never been, nor will ever be again. But not a dog shall growl against any of the people of Israel, either man or beast, that you may know that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. And all these servants shall come down to me and bow down to me, saying, "Get out, you and all the people who follow you, and after that I will go out." And he went out from Pharaoh in hot anger. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Pharaoh will not listen to you, that my wonders be multiplied in the land of Egypt." Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the people of Israel go out of his hand. I want to talk about something real quick, because we might have some listeners that are not really familiar with the purpose of all of this. And they're probably wondering, after everything, why does God keep hardening Pharaoh's heart? It seems like Pharaoh's about to let the people go, and God hardens his heart so he doesn't. There's a reason behind this, guys. For one, it's punishment. So there's a few reasons. So you can look at it as there's punishment for Pharaoh because of what he was doing to God's people. He wasn't getting off easy. Also, in Egyptian culture, the Pharaoh was seen as a god. Like, he was God incarnate on earth. And so he exalts himself above the Most High God. And as we see later in the Ten Commandments, none can be higher than him. And even like later on, like, God makes sure all the time, like, there's no God higher than me, and there's no one who's going to be exalted higher than me. So when you exalt yourself higher than the Most High, and you place yourself and you place yourself upon such a high place, pedestal, to where you decide that you override him, and that he's not important, or he's not who he is. That's when there's going to be some problems for you. Even if you are a non-believer, like you're from another nation or something like that, he's not going to let that just fly. He's not going to let that slide. All right. And it's like the Michael Jordan thing. And I took that personally. God takes that personally. So there's that too. The last reason, though, and this is probably the most important reason, is he needed the people of Israel to see that as bad as everything is going to, he needs them to see that as bad as it's about to be getting for Pharaoh and all that, right? I'm going to keep hardening his heart. I'm going to keep making him say, like, on his dead body, he's not letting y'all go. Because when I turn this around and force him to let you go, you have to know there was by no other power but mine. You have to remember the things that I did here and pass them down in generations so they know who I am. So it was a lot of things like that was going into why he kept hardening Pharaoh's heart. And the children of Israel had to know at the end of the day that us coming out of Israel was by no one but God's power. It wasn't because Pharaoh had a change of heart, because every time something happens, Pharaoh's going to double down on, I'm not letting y'all go. Even at one point, after the first plague, he said, we're going to make the work double for you guys. Well, by telling you got the same quota, and we're not going to give you straw to make your bricks. You got to go get it yourself. Right? So all these things considering, God had to do this so they could see for themselves that, yeah, the God of Israel, our God, is the most high. He is the most powerful. He is the beginning, the end, the beginning, Alpha and Omega, Omega and Alpha. All right. He is the one who can do all. He is the one that sits above everyone else. He sits on the throne. There is no God above him. There's no God beside him. There is no one like him. It's a very important lesson to learn for where they were about to go and for the commandments they were going to end up getting. And he had to let them notice because the children of Israel, while they were in Egypt, picked up false gods and idols from Egypt in that land. But yeah, all right, so let's go to chapter 12.
Chapter 12. Right here. The Passover.
I like to eat.
Yeah, food is good. Food is good.
I don't really like the Passover food, but I like to eat.
Okay. Alrighty. While the Israelites were still in the land of Egypt, the Lord gave the following instructions to Moses and Aaron. From now on, this month will be the first month of the year for you. Announce to the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, each family must choose a lamb or a young goat for a sacrifice, one animal for each household. If a family is too small to eat a whole animal, let them share with another family in the neighborhood. Divide the animal according to the size of each family and how much they can eat. The animal you select must be a 1-year-old male, either a sheep or a goat with no defects. Take special care of this chosen animal until the evening of the 14th day of the first month. Then the whole assembly of the community of Israel must slaughter their lamb or a young goat at twilight. They are to take some of the blood and smear it on the sides and top of the door frames of the houses where they eat the animal. That same night they must roast the meat over a fire and eat it along the bitter salad greens and bread made without yeast. Do not eat any of the meat raw or boiled in water. The whole animal, including the head, legs, and internal organs, must be roasted over fire. Man, God was specific.
He's
Do
very
not,
specific about sacrifices and things of that nature. We'll see later in Leviticus.
yeah. Do not leave any of it until the next morning. Burn whatever is not eaten before morning. These are your instructions for eating this meal. Be fully dressed, wear your sandals, and carry your walking stick in your hand. Eat the meal with urgency, for this is the Lord's Passover. On that night I will pass through the land of Egypt and strike down every firstborn son and firstborn male animal in the land of Egypt. I will execute judgment against all the gods of Egypt, for I am the Lord. But the blood of your doorposts will serve as a sign, marking the houses where you are staying. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. This plague of death will not touch you when I strike the land of Egypt. This is a day to remember. Each year, from generation to generation, you must celebrate it as it is a special festival to the Lord. This is a law of all time. For 7 days, the bread you eat must be made without yeast. On the first day of the festival, remove every trace of yeast from your homes. Anyone who eats bread made with yeast during the 7 days of the festival will be cut off from the community of Israel. On the first day of the festival, and again on the 7th day, all the people must observe an official day for holy assembly. No work of any kind may be done on these days except in the preparation of food. Celebrate the festival of unleavened bread, for it will remind you that I brought you forces of the land of Egypt. This festival will be a permanent law for you. Celebrate the day from generation to generation. The bread you eat must be made without yeast from the evening of the 14th day of the first month of I lost my place. Hold up. Day of the month until the evening of the 21st day of that month. During those 7 days, there must be no trace of yeast in your homes. Anyone who eats anything made with yeast during this week will be cut off from the community of Israel. These regulations apply both to the foreigners living among you and the native-born Israelites. During those days, you must not eat anything made with yeast. Wherever you live, eat only bread made without yeast. Then Moses led all the elders of Israel together and said to them, Go, pick out a lamb or a young goat for each of your families, and slaughter the Passover animal. Drain the blood into a basin. Then take a bundle of hyssop branches and dip it in the blood. Brush the hyssop across the top of and sides of the door frames of your houses, and no one may go through the door until morning. For the Lord will pass through the land to strike down the Egyptians. But when he sees the blood on the top of the and the sides of the door frame, the Lord will pass over your home. He will not permit his death angel to enter your house and strike you down. Remember, these instructions are permanent law that you and your descendants must observe forever. When you enter into the land that has promised to give you, you will continue to observe the ceremony. Then your children will ask, "What does this ceremony mean?" And you reply, "It is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord, for he passed over the houses of Israelites in Egypt. And then he struck the Egyptians, he spared our families." When Moses had finished speaking, all the people bowed down to the ground and worshipped. So the people of Israel did just as the Lord had commanded through Moses and Aaron. And that night at midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn sons in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn son of the prisoner in the dungeon. Even the firstborn of their livestock were killed. Pharaoh and all his officials and all the people of Egypt woke up during the night, and loud wailing was heard throughout the land of Egypt. There was not a single house where someone had died. Now, Mike, before we have continued, you got any thoughts on that, what I just read just now?
Yeah, bro. So first off, it was a lot of teaching that God was
was.
doing right there. So
Yeah.
he basically told them, listen, what we're about to do right now is I'm going to teach you about the Passover. This isn't about you having a nice meal, which is why he said he gave them specific instructions on how to roast the goat or the lamb, right? But then also told them, eat it quickly on bitter greens with no unleavened bread. You're not going to have any yeast or leaven in your household, right? So, we like yeast and everything because it makes the dough rise and everything, and it does nice add a taste to it. And as far as like the vegetables that go with it, like anyone could go like, yo, all right, this lamb is nice. I'm about to make some summer squash and some zucchini roasted next to it and everything. Nah, he said bitter greens. So that's not even like regular lettuce. Like that's like some bitter spring mix that you're eating with it. And this is what his instructions was. And then he said again to eat it quickly. So it says that, hey, I'm doing sorry, I just got distracted for a second for text messages. It says that I'm about to do this thing for you, and the reason I'm telling you to eat quickly is because you need to have this food done and in your bellies and done by the time I pass over your household. And that's why he named it Passover, because his spirit was going to pass over their households. And then he was telling them, teach your children. This is going to be something that has to mark from now on. Also, this is the beginning of the month of your calendar now from now on. This is month 1. Your calendar now begins with this month from the day that you were liberated from Egypt.
Yeah, you're right. That was definitely a lot of, like I said, just definitely lots like instruction that God was giving them, and like how you said before. No, we're gonna see later in Leviticus on why he was instructing it in that way. But that's what how you said before. It was definitely a moment of instruction and definitely the obedience for it. Because even like with the Passover, Mike, you can clearly see on why that was so essential, on why his people was they had to be obedient to what he was saying, because during the Passover, like how it revealed, the firstborn of everything was killed, including like Pharaoh's son and the livestock that was the firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron during the night. "Get out," he ordered. "Leave my people, and take the rest of the Israelites with you. Go and worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and your herds, as you said, and be gone. Go, but bless me as you leave." All the Egyptians urged the people of Israel to get out of the land as quickly as possible, for they thought, "We will all die." The Israelites took their bread dough before yeast was added. They wrapped their kneading boards in their cloaks and carried them on their shoulders. And the people of Israel did as Moses had instructed. They asked the Egyptians for clothing and articles of silver and gold. The Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the Israelites, and they gave the Israelites whatever they asked for. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. That night, the people of Israel left Ramesses and started for Succoth. They were about 600,000 men, plus all the women and children. A rabble of non-Israelites went with them, along with great flocks and herds of livestock. For bread, they baked flat cakes from the dough without yeast they had brought from Egypt. It was made without yeast because the people were driven out of Egypt in such a hurry that they had no time to prepare the bread or other food. The people of Israel had lived in Egypt for 430 years. In fact, it was on the last day of the 430th year that all the Lord's forces left the land. On this night, the Lord kept his promise to bring his people out of the land of Egypt. So this night belongs to him, and it must commemorate it every year by the Israelites from generation to generation. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "These are the instructions of the festival of Passover. No outsiders are allowed to eat the Passover meal, but any slave who has been purchased may eat it if they have been circumcised. Temporary residents and hired servants may not eat it. Each Passover lamb must be eaten in one house. Do not carry any of its meat outside, and do not break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate this Passover festival. If there are foreigners living among you who want to celebrate the Lord's Passover, let all their males be circumcised. Only then may they celebrate the Passover with you, like any native-born Israelite. But no uncircumcised male may ever eat the Passover meal. The instruction applies to everyone, whether a native-born Israelite or a foreigner living among you." So all the people of Israel followed all the Lord's commands to Moses and Aaron. On that very day, the Lord brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt like an army. And that's it for chapter 12.
Like an army. But again, he did tell them by the end of this, Pharaoh is going to be not telling you can go, but forcing you out. And that's what he and the rest of them did. And the rest of the Egyptians, again, yo, like, y'all got to get out of here because we're afraid that we're going to die.
He's like, that's exactly what he was saying. Like, yo, we got to get up out of here, man. Yeah, and it definitely took the killing of his son, I think, to really, for that to be put in perspective for real.
Yeah. I think, well, that end, because it didn't say at the end of that God hardened his heart again. He let him go ahead and lament and sit there and stew on the fact that you, like, all of this is basically caused by you because of your stubbornness. Yeah, because you're God on the earth, right?
Yeah, that's something right there.
This is my home.
All I ever wanted.
Oh, no, I guess we got to sing the Whitney and Mariah song now.
I can't sing that high.
There can be miracles.
Oh, Lord of Jesus.
When you believe.
All right. Give me some practice for that one.
Shoot, I'm not even really hitting notes like that. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Hey, that movie had a great score and soundtrack.
Didn't they have Boyz II Men on there too?
Yeah, for the soundtrack version, yeah, they had Boyz II Men, Brian McKnight, Casey and JoJo.
So that they knew, huh?
Everybody was like, yo, we want to hop on this. Yeah. Pause.
Yep. They said, come on, I need some singers. They called the right people.
But yeah, yup. This has been another Bible study episode, Exodus chapters 9 through 12. Next week, we'll be going over 13 through 16.
That's right. All right, see y'all next week.
Love, peace, hair grease.